Welcome to DarkSideAdventures, an 18 and older, not safe for work podcast where we explore the dark side of sex, the world of kink, fetish, and the BDSM lifestyle.
Yeah. I love our music.
Oh man, yeah,
Oh.
good choice on you. Actually,
Well, thank you.
that is
Thank you.
definitely. You are, of course, everybody. Welcome back. This is technically episode 9 of
Yes.
of Dark Side Adventures, and of course, we are your hosts. I am Edwin,
I'm Coco.
man, and we are back for another week of, I wouldn't even call it shenanigans. It's definitely another week of learning, and just kind of getting to know, just not the community that you're in, but how you can be better for your community as well. Man, that sounds like a presidential speech right there.
That does. That was some good auditory speech there.
Kind of throwing it out there here.
Yeah.
So, oh man, we didn't even like check the day. We don't even know the holiday is.
I did check the day actually.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready? Edwin, happy card reading day.
Oh my goodness! Shout out to all the psychics out there,
The tarot readers,
yeah,
palm readers, all of it. Well, I just kind of have a list of some red flags. As you find people that you want to try relationships or try to dynamic with, a kinky relationship, a lot of red flags for a kinky relationship and a vanilla relationship are very similar. If you get into a relationship and they start trying to isolate you, or there's a term, they call it social media blocking, where all communication on social media has to come through you or come through them, or any conversation they have to be involved with. And again, they're just isolating you. Like, that's bad. If a dominant ever says that the submissive has to be broken in or they have to break their ego, no.
You just see me shaking over here. I'm just shaking my head over here, like,
yeah. No, if they come to you and say, we need to do this and this is how we're going to build you up, maybe. But even psychology, like, it's so easy to break somebody down. It's like, I can't even tell you how hard it is to build somebody up after they've been broken down. Like, not even psychiatrists and psychologists really have a handle on how to do that, just because the brain is so, like, the human brain and a person's psyche is so delicate. It's hard to build you back up. Ask any person who's been in an abusive relationship. It's so hard to find, air quotes, yourself again. It's so hard to go back to feeling like normal and like you. So if they ever tell you that they need to break you down or break this or break your ego or anything like that, it's kind of a big red flag in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. I feel like that's I'm glad that you brought this up, because it does kind of extend a lot to our culture.
Absolutely.
Just obviously we're over here in America, but it kind of bleeds out to our culture, because that happens, girl, more than you even know. Once you start talking about like abuse, like trying to find yourself, like, that's usually where it hits first. And I agree with you. The ego is so like fragile, because everybody wants constructive criticism, but nobody really can handle it. And two, people, even when you give constructive criticism, some people take it the wrong way, and that's already a problem. So realistically, moreover, we kind of have a problem with interpretation.
Absolutely. Well, that just falls back again to bad communication.
Yep. Yeah, like, no, I agree with you 100%. Man, girl, I could go on and on. I'm trying not to, because I see myself already going down the rabbit hole. So No, I agree with Coco 100%. Like, just make sure that, whatever it is that you plan on doing, especially whether you're top or your bottom, just 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 go in there and pace yourself. Pace.
Absolutely.
Pace, pace,
Absolutely.
pace, pace, pace. Oh my God. Like that is the term right there. Pace.
Those baby steps.
Yeah.
No, I just want to say, I touched on it earlier. There are as many fakes. I think there's as many fake subs as there are as fake dons out there. But this list, again, I don't identify on the left-hand side of the slash. I don't identify as a top or a dominant or a master or anything like that. So most of this list is going to be from my view on the right side of the slash, as slave, as a submissive. So that's why all these points are, Edwin, if you have any to throw in on the submissive side, I do have some as well. But if you have any to throw in, by all means, please do. So I'm just going to go down the list and you can check in if you want to. Okay.
And I got my notepad here, so like if anything I think you missed, I'll definitely throw out the answer.
Awesome. Okay. So next one is not taking your feelings seriously, either as a top or a bottom.
Oh, yes.
If you say, I am feeling this way and this is why, and they don't take that serious, or they ignore it, or they make fun of you for it, or make you feel bad for it, in any relationship, vanilla, kinky, friendship, that's bad. That's a big red flag to me.
100%.
If somebody has huge mood swings, they go from the warmest, lovingest person to the most cold, ice cold, mean person, and back and forth and just swing on this pendulum constantly, that's a red flag to me. And it also means that most of the time they probably have an undiagnosed mental health disorder that they should probably get checked out and some medication to help.
Because that bleeds into the relationship a lot. And
absolutely.
Man, I feel like I may catch a lot of like flack for saying this, but it's okay to care about the person 100%, but it's not your job to fix that person's mental health problems.
Amen.
So the reason why I wanted to say it like that is because like we all have somebody that we know, maybe we're partners with, and they could be a mental health disorder, or maybe just they just have an issue. And when I start saying mental health disorder, people take it the wrong way. So maybe they just have a slight issue. If the person doesn't want help, there's nothing you can do with that.
You can't force help.
Right. And two, if the person is not changing, but you're getting frustrated that they're not changing, in all honesty, the best thing that you could possibly do, and it sounds so bad, but it is to leave. Because the longer that you hold on to that and you expect the person to change, it's not going to happen. And what it's going to do is going to start to wear on your mentality.
Absolutely.
And I know we don't want to leave people behind, and that's not what I'm going for. I'm saying you can still be there for that person, but at some point you're going to have to step away because you've done all you could do.
Absolutely.
So
where's on your health? The more you try to fix somebody that doesn't want to be fixed, you can't you can't fill somebody else's cup from an empty cup.
Very true. 100%.
Yeah. Also, there's the other proverb of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yep. That's what the old folks
right? People are gonna have emotions, they're gonna have different moods, they're gonna feel different, but it's when they get those like all the way from the left side to all the way to the right side and they flip to opposite so fast, it's like a Jekyll and Hyde.
Yep.
That's when you need to kind of take stock of whether or not that's the red flag that you need to leave on.
You also have to be willing to get help.
Yes.
That's the last little tidbit on there just to finish it off. But the person, whoever has the issue, if they're not willing to go get help, or let's just say, oh, I'll see him later, or next week, month after, 2 months after, oh, I set an appointment for 3 months from now, so we should be. No. If anything, that's just essentially they're just kind of placeholding just to keep you there. So once again, they have to be willing to fix the issue so the issue fully gets fixed instead of prolonging the issue, hoping that it gets fixed.
Absolutely. Now, coming from working in a mental health background, yes, there's times where an initial appointment is going to be 3, 4, 5 months out, which is terrible. But you need to kind of look into that and them saying that appointment's 3 months out and see if that's a realistic time for that doctor's appointment. Because I do know some providers who can get you in within, like, they won't let any new patient go out over 2 weeks, but I know other clinics who are out 4, 5, 6 months, if that. So mental health, there's not enough providers in mental health. But again, if they're pushing off making the appointment, like, you know, the person, you can tell if they're pushing it off or if, yes, they're really trying for help and that appointment is that far out. So use your best judgment on that. So another big red flag to me is when the sub isn't allowed any say in their relationship. Any say in the scene, any say of that. Even as slave to master, I still have a say in the relationship. I still am allowed to voice my opinion. I do it in a very respectful way. He will take it into consideration and then he will make the best option and best choice. It may not be what I wanted, but I at least am able to voice that opinion. We're able to have that conversation and then he will make that decision.
I was just going to tack on there is just saying that you should be in a relationship where your voice is heard. Whether, you know, you have to just be, whether y'all have like, you know, something as small as like maybe like a notebook, y'all kind of write things in where, you know, your person looks at it and they're like, okay, well, we'll incorporate that, or, you know, we'll definitely work on that. Or even something as simple as saying, okay, putting the dynamic to the side, person to person, then you can have that serious talk. But you need to be in a relationship where you at least have your voice heard, because essentially if it's not being heard, then that means realistically the needs aren't getting met because nothing's getting heard. So
exactly. Master and I have a journal that I post on Tumblr every night. And I put those conversations in there and then he reads it. And when I am ready to bring it up to, because I know he listens and I know he cares about me and I know he listens, but my anxiety gets to me and I'm like, well, what if he doesn't need it? What if I'm bothering him? What if I can't bring this up yet? I can't. So the best way I've found to take care of it is I put it in my journal so he can read it and I know he reads it. And then when I am ready to actually voice it, I bring it to him. And that's because of my anxiety. That's my personal way of handling it, because if I don't know why it doesn't connect to my brain. Like, yes, I'm telling him anyway, so I could just go have that conversation with him, but it feels better to me and I feel less anxious if I quote unquote broach it in my journal and then come to him with that conversation. So
I think it's easier that way too, because he'll see it, but he'll also get some time to meditate on it, which is pretty big. So, I mean, I feel like the hardest part about being somebody like in that position, you never know when the punches are going to start flying. And I don't mean punches in a bad way, obviously, but like it kind of hits you and you weren't expecting it. At least his is like, okay, he knows it's coming. He can at least like think about it, get it ready, be like, oh, I saw that you posted that. I went ahead and got this prepared. I already ordered whatever it is off of Amazon. We're good to go. You know, that's obviously good.
Yeah. So, and it'll be different for everybody. So find the way that works for you. Another big one in any kind of relationship is when one of the partners essentially ghosts you for a long period of time and they just go silent, but and won't respond to you for ages and ages and ages. But then when they message you and you don't message back right away, they get incredibly upset. That's controlling and manipulative.
And that's communication problem number one, because that means I forgot what word you used earlier, but there was no like they set nothing in stone, essentially, is how I wanted to say it. So they didn't even know what their dynamic was, what they were supposed to do. They didn't know how often they were supposed to like talk. Like, is this a normal thing? Is this a weekly thing, monthly thing, random? It was wrong expectations.
Exactly. Wrong expectations, no structure to it. Now, there's times that Master and I won't talk for a couple days because we're both busy or we're both just peopled out. But that's different. That's not complete silence, complete leaving you alone, ignoring you. That's I need a mental health break, or I'm so busy I haven't even looked at my phone in 24 hours.
That happens.
It does. It does. So, but neither of us get upset over it. We both know that happens. We both know those are quote unquote issues that are going to come across. And we know that it's not an issue in our relationship. Pua and Matt kind of broached on it last week that jealousy is a normal part of life. You're going to be people are always going to be jealous, but when that jealousy gets overboard and goes overboard and becomes toxic, that's a huge red flag to me. I was listening to a true crime podcast the other day and they were talking about domestic violence. And this partner would the abusive partner would wake up this girl at all hours of the night to yell at her for supposedly cheating or talking to some other guy or whatever, and was always in her face about it when she wasn't even cheating. That's bad. That becomes toxic. That's negative, and that breeds awfulness into that relationship.
I agree 100%.
Now, jealousy, again, it's normal to be jealous. It's normal to be jealous and have feelings of jealousy from anything from, oh, I'm kind of jealous that person has a boat, to, oh, I'm jealous that Master got to go to San Antonio and I didn't, or they had this conversation. But it's having that conversation with their partner, or realizing that, yes, it's cool that that person has a boat, but you're not at a place to where you're able to have a boat, and that's okay. It's being able to recognize that jealousy in yourself and overcome it.
Yep. Speaking them truths.
Another one is when your partner doesn't take you serious. And I kind of mentioned it earlier on emotions, but if they don't take you serious in other things, like I had a partner who I had set down boundaries and limits and they didn't take those seriously. And that was a huge red flag. I brought those boundaries up multiple times and they still were ignored.
No, 100%. I mean, there's a lot of things with that too, where it's like, I'm gonna put you to the side, of course.
Absolutely.
There's two things with that. So I feel like in order for somebody to take you seriously, you have to not even make them take you seriously, but kind of show signs of why they need to take you seriously. So, I mean, it's one of those things where if you're one of those people, especially like, if you're submissive, you know your worth, and you say, all right, well, these are the things I do tolerate and I don't tolerate, right? If you tolerate it, obviously they're just kind of they're either going to change their mind after you check them the first time, or they're going to keep doing it. At the second time, it's kind of like, okay, something has to change because clearly they don't respect the boundary enough. I need to walk away. It's okay to walk away, 100%. I'm going to keep saying that all day, every day. It's okay to walk away. But vice versa with that is if somebody tells you something and you're not taking it seriously, then there's a problem with you. That means, one, you don't even respect the dynamic as a whole. So you're already breaking safety because you're playing with somebody's life. Let's be 100% real.
Absolutely.
You are already playing with somebody's life, right? And so you need to, one, be respectful of this person trying to make a dynamic with you and trying to make things work. But also too, and I think that's probably the biggest thing about being any type of like top or dominant role, you have to be willing to listen. As much as it is like giving out what you need or like saying what you need or what to do's, you have to be willing to listen. And I think you gain way more respect listening than you do actually just talking sometimes. No, keep going. That's all I was gonna say.
Like if a dominant wants you to do something, or they tell you that you're not a real submissive, or if a submissive wants you to do something and tells you if you don't, you're not a real dominant. One, they need a reality check.
Whoa, girl.
They need a reality check. And if they don't accept that reality check and go, oh, yeah, I was wrong, then that's a huge red flag to me. Because one, they don't accept that they make mistakes. Two, they're not open-minded enough to realize that there's no one real way to be a dominant, submissive, top, bottom, left, right, / doesn't matter, whatever partner. Because I've heard it in the vanilla world too. If you don't do this, then you're not a real boyfriend. If you don't do this, you're not a real girlfriend, wife, husband, whatever side of the relationship you're talking about. There's no one real way to be something. Another one that I've seen it in a lot of people where they're kind of like stuck in dom mode and they dom everyone and try to be the most domliest dom and dominant over everything, including in the vanilla world. So there's a fine balance between being stuck in dominant mode and being dominant in your life. And there's a difference in it. And so one red flag to me is where they're stuck in this dominant mode and they can't ever come out of it, and they don't ever come out of it because they want to be the dominantest dom in the world. And then on the other side, you have people who say they're dominant, but they're not dominant in their life and they don't have their life together. No, it's different to say, I don't know what I want to do with my life, but like their life's just this huge pigsty of a mess. So there's that balance that you have to have between being too dominant and not enough dominant, which kind of sounds counterproductive, I guess. I don't think that's the word I'm looking for, but it sounds kind of wrong and kind of like sounds wrong of me to say and judgmental of me to say. But there is that balance, just like on the submissive side where you are always stuck in submissive mode and you submit and submit and submit and submit and you become this doormat. And on the other hand, you don't submit and you don't have submissive traits and accept those in your life. So there's that fine, very fine balance that you have to find, and you have to find that balance in you, because that balance is going to be different for everyone.
And just kind of go with Coco, with what Coco is saying is it's okay to submit, but it's it's okay to not submit to everybody.
Yes, and you shouldn't submit to everybody.
Agreed. That's overly submitting, or maybe you're going around, a bunch of different doms, hopefully, hoping them telling you what to do if it's not like a high protocol party or anything like that. That's kind of a red flag there, because you just want to take instruction from anybody, versus like, the headmaster who's, commanding the whole party, who you should be taking orders from. But also with that being, a dominant, being overly dominant, and
I enjoy some humiliation play. However, if Master ever humiliated me outside of a scene, especially in front of vanillas, like that's not a good thing. That's, again, that borders on abuse, and no, it doesn't border on abuse. That is abuse. That's emotional abuse. If they start humiliating you and they start tearing you down or picking on you in front of others in a non-agreed upon scene, no, please run away from that.
It's just straight disrespect.
Absolutely. You should always be respected in your relationship, even if you're a slave, even if you're submissive, even if you're dominant. You should always be respected.
I don't think we touched on the 5 love languages.
We haven't.
But just to kind of go with that, but being appreciated in what you do, I think all of us need to be shown appreciation, whether it be, with like a gift or gestures or, just surprises, stuff like that. But within like the 5 love languages, one of them is, or there's actually many of them. There's affirmation, there's touch, there's gift giving. There is
5 love languages by Dr. Gary Chapman, and they are gifts or tokens of affection, quality time together, physical touch, words of affirmation, and acts of service.
So with that, and why she brought it up is, of course, we're talking about being appreciated. Well, you can be appreciated by any of those things. Some of them, like gift giving could be once in a while, whereas affirmations could just be, maybe once or twice every day, something like that. Obviously if you're submissive, your thing is make sure that my loafers are next to the bed and the coffee is made by 8:30. And, you as a dominant, you're like, hey, I'm happy with that. Like that starts off my morning better than anything else. And they do that. Obviously you want to show them some type of gratitude. So if you can't give a gift, give affirmations, just little things, you're the best submissive. I couldn't ask for anything else, something like that. So it goes a long way, more than
Yeah. And I'm a really terrible person to give gifts to. I'm like, oh, cool. And then I move on because I want to spend time with you, or like acts of service and how do they put it? Quality time together. Those are my 2 love languages. I love to just spend time with people, whether that be like I'll go lay in Master's office at his feet while he's working and be just fucking happy, or I'll sit there editing or scrolling my computer or reading or whatever, just because I'm able to spend some quality time with him. So but yes, so another big one is they don't allow you to grow, and they don't push you to grow. They don't want you to grow. Because if they can keep you sheltered and they can keep you from not growing, then they have more power over you and they can use that power negatively. When Master and I first started talking, I had been a part of the community, but I wasn't as knowledgeable as I could have been. And that was something he wanted me to fix. He definitely pushed me to learn. He gave me tasks to learn, papers to write about things, and not even just for like kink and BDSM. Like, Master is indigenous, he's native. And so we had conversations about like Christopher Columbus and Abraham Lincoln and a lot of other people who had done horrendous acts towards the indigenous and native people and are hailed as heroes to the United States. So when you're not pushed to learn then and to grow, then you become stagnant, and they can take advantage of that. Mm-hmm. So that one's huge to me. I'm all about learning, and Edwin and I have kind of talked about this. And that's why part of the reason we started the podcast. We want everyone to learn, and we want to push you to learn, because there's so much information out there, not just kink, that you should always be growing and expanding.
Well, I agree. Like, that's one of my biggest things. And yeah, I agree with you. We talk about it all the time, like just learning new things. I forgot what president or who said it, but if you're not learning, you're dying. And I also gave the quote, or my favorite quote. It was, change is an evidence of education. So whatever your outcome is, or what you want your outcome to be, or whatever your current circumstances, that can be changed by gaining knowledge. Now, you can read a bunch of things, and you could learn a bunch of information, but it's finally the point whenever things click. Mm-hmm. That's when moment. That's when you start realizing, like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, even for me, just like little things. So I talked about this last week. I'm learning like basically like systems theory is really what systems thinking is really what it's called. But you would be surprised that the things that people want to do or want to change about themselves, there's literally one thing that is holding them back. And it's not like necessarily like, oh, spiritually, or your weight's holding you back, or something like that. It's if you changed one thing in your day, you would get 90% more done.
Absolutely. So, absolutely.
But basically, it's like you want to change. Like, that's, if you want to get better, you have to change.
Change is not always a bad thing. Change is typically a good thing, even if it's scary. When they don't care about safe sex or safe play or safe words, that's a huge sign. When the dominant pulls that "don't question me, I'm the dominant" card all the time, no, I don't play well with that one. When they're so dependent on alcohol or drugs or something addictive that they can't function,
yeah. Don't want to go to work, don't want to eat, don't want to do nothing.
When you're not trustworthy and I can't trust your word. When they threaten you with, if you leave or you do this, I'm going to hurt myself or kill myself.
Oh my God. I think a lot of people could probably, I mean, not me personally, but I've heard too many stories. I've seen too many Reddit stories. This hits way too close to home sometimes.
Not only is that a red flag for a fake dominant, that is a red flag for any relationship, and get the hell out of there.
Yep.
If you need help, please reach out. I will do anything I can to help or to get you in touch with some community out there who can help you. That one's close to my heart. When they have had all of their relationships bad relationships, or most of their relationships are bad relationships, or just a lot of bad relationships, look at the common denominator. It's that person. That's a big red flag. When they have a bad reputation in the community and with their friends. When they play when they're angry or upset at you. Play should never happen in anger, ever. If you even punishment should never happen in anger. There should be time where to calm down on both sides. You should have a discussion about why you're being punished and what the punishment is going to be, and then the punishment should be handled out. So when somebody insists to be called a certain title when they're very first meeting or talking to you, I'm not going to call you the Grandmaster Pua the very first time I talk to you. I'm going to call you by your name, or without a name if you won't give me anything other than a title.
Yep, true.
And most of the time I won't talk to you if you don't give me anything other than a title.
Hi, I'm Frank.
Call you Frank. It's not a title to me. It's a name. We touched on it earlier when there's no aftercare. Now, again, there's some people who don't like aftercare, but you should always negotiate that in, and that aftercare conversation should happen. And you should always have, if you don't like the cuddly aftercare, they should always bring you some water and have a conversation to kind of debrief from that scene. When they lie or withhold information, again, sometimes they'll withhold information for a surprise, so use your best judgment, but when it's that consistent thing, they're lying and withholding things, no. When it's all about me and me and me and only me and just making it meeting my needs on either side, that's a no. That one I see very often in submissives, and especially in newer submissives, where it's like, this relationship's about me because I have the power since I'm giving up control to you. Yes and no. It's not all about you. No relationship should be all about you. It should be about both of you. When somebody changes the dynamic without consulting you, or they change the rules or limits, or even the scene in the middle of a scene, that's a big red flag to me. Dynamics are a mutual thing. You are both in the dynamic. You should both be having a conversation.
True.
About changes. If you're ever punished or made to feel guilty about using your safe word, you should never be punished for using your safe word. Caveat, unless you abuse your safe word. And at that point, that's a red flag to me, and I wouldn't punish the submissive. I would just leave that relationship.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. Because at that point, that kind of goes beyond the dominant, too. If there's, well, it's half and half, because if there's an overuse, that means there's something wrong anyway. So, like...
Well, and not even yes, if there's an overuse, then there's definitely something wrong. And it's, if a submissive has to use the safe word so often that it's a common occurrence, then that's an oversight on the dominant's part, and that's a red flag to a fake dominant or an abusive dominant. However, if the submissive is using the safe word to get out of everything and anything they don't want to do, then that's a red flag on the submissive side, and that's manipulative.
True.
So that's from both sides. When somebody tries to push your limits in a way that you don't consent. No, I am always one to push my limits and grow, because I feel like that's the best way to grow. But when someone tries to push your limits or your hard limits, or forces you to push those limits, then, and it's not been like negotiated and agreed upon, then that's kind of a red flag to me. Here's kind of my handful ones that are really dedicated towards a fake submissive. When they're begging and demanding to be dominated. Whip me, fuck me, topping from the bottom.
Thank you.
Yeah, topping from the bottom. That is manipulative and abusive and not a true DS relationship. So, when a submissive makes a dominant jump through hoops and then changes the end point. So, for example, If I say, these are the things I need to see before I submit to you, the dominant shows me those things, and then I say, no, those weren't the things. This is what I actually need to see from you. And so the dominant shows me those things. And then I say, oh, but I want to see these things. And so like constantly changing those things, again, manipulative.
We call that the bait and switch.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
So as soon as she'll bait you in with one thing, and then as soon as you get it, switch it into something. And it's not just a she, obviously, it's he too. So yes. I don't want to be sexist on there.
When the submissive, I guess this could be either side, but when the submissive refuses to follow through on rules and tasks that have been negotiated, and there's always some excuse for why, or they just chose not to do it. So yes, there's going to be those circumstances when a sub doesn't follow through, or a submissive or slave doesn't follow through on the tasks and things. So you have to use your judgment to see why aren't they following through, and is it in a negative or manipulative way? Is it because what we negotiated on is something that they don't actually want? Did I listen to that? So yes, that one is a red flag, but you also have to kind of see the why behind why they're not following through. If it's constantly excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse, then yeah, that seems like a red flag to me.
I think personally, that's one of the bigger ones. Just being in the community, because what you'll hear is, oh, he wasn't a real dom, blah 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 blah. He didn't he wasn't he didn't give me any good rules, or blah blah blah. And then come to find out, the submissive is just so bratty that they just don't want to listen anyway, or they want the title, but they don't actually want the position.
They don't want to put the effort in for it.
They don't want that effort. But my thing is if you're going to ask, oh, I want to be rules, and I want to be held accountable, and I want to make sure it's done. Well, I can't be giving you rules, and then you want rules, every week, and then you want to be held accountable for those rules. But you always have an excuse whenever you need to do those rules. At some point, you can't get mad at the dominant if the dominant's like, all right, well, there's no point in giving you rules because there's not even a point for, you're not even going to follow any of my instruction.
Absolutely.
And, at that point, like, we understand if issues pop up, cool. We get it. We're all human here. We understand. But if you're just doing it just as outright defiance, I don't think you're a true submissive. You're I don't know. Like I said, you just want the title, but you don't want the position. So
exactly. Again, it goes back to that whole, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
100% true.
When someone says they have zero limits, or you can do whatever to me.
Oh no.
We've talked about this before. We have, but I it's important enough to me to bring it up again. Especially in the beginning of a relationship, you or a dynamic, you should have limits. Please have limits. And if you're talking to somebody and you're vetting somebody, you're negotiating something, and you're like, I don't know, that's fine. But you need to follow it up with a, I don't know, but I want to try, or I don't know, I don't think I'm going to like that. And you need to follow it up. You need to think about that. Or even, I don't know, I haven't thought about that, is fine as well. Admit that you don't know, but give me a point to know, is this something we want to look into? Is this something we don't want to look into? Is this something you haven't even thought of before? Because having zero limits is, I know a dominatrix, a dame, who when a submissive will tell her that, she goes, okay, great, I want to do a double anal fisting with possibly a toe amputation. That sound great? Great, let's go. And she's like, their eyes get really, really, really big, and they start stuttering. And she says, oh, do we suddenly have limits? What are those limits?
Right.
You are going to have limits. Even, and I've said it before, even slaves who state they don't have limits really do. They just know that their limits align with their master or their dominance, their top's limits, and they align in those ways, and they know that their dominant and them are on the same page about what they will and won't do. Does that mean the submissive is always going to like what the dominant's going to do? No.
Nope.
But they know that they will but the dominant knows them well enough that they won't push them to do something that they will absolutely refuse. So this one is one that irks me so bad. Just irks me when you don't pay attention to what a dominant is actually looking for, or when you don't pay attention to what a submissive is actually looking for, especially on like online fet profiles. We've talked about fet life before, but like if it says, you know, I'm not looking, or I am happy, my profile says I am a happily owned monogamous slave, and I still get messages from people asking if I want to play, or asking if I want to have sex, or demanding that I submit to them.
I'm Master J from Washington. You're gonna submit to me tonight.
Yeah. Or on the other side, if, you know, a submissive coming to a dominant and the profile says, you know, I am looking for a 24/7 household non-sexual submissive, and you are looking to be a sex slave, you're not gonna mesh.
Nope. I had to like, what? No.
You're not gonna mesh. You need to pay attention to that kind of thing. And if they don't pay attention to it, then you got some issues.
True.
Not participating in a relationship and not wanting to think for yourself. There are times when I don't want to make choices, and I will tell Master that, but I still have to think for myself. I still have to participate in the relationship, because this relationship is 50-50, even though I'm giving my power and choices up to him. We'll just leave it at that. We'll come back to those another day. This one's just kind of an obvious one. If they start to blackmail you, get out of there. And there's no second chances on that one. Get out of there.
Man.
And that's my really long list.
No, that was, golly. I literally think you hit everything from like top to bottom too. So no, that was a really good job.
Well, thank you.
Once again, like, I mean, we've been in the community long enough to see these
in action.
In action. So that's why sometimes like you'll hear our enthusiasm whenever something pops up. We're like, oh yeah. The only one that I was just gonna add on to was the change. In a dynamic, like, it's okay to change if your wants and needs change. It
Absolutely.
happens all the times. That could end up causing for split dynamics or broken up dynamics. Once again, it's okay. I want to say kink is a journey. So at the end of the day, sometimes you're going to walk it with people. Sometimes you got to walk it by yourself.
And sometimes that breaks your heart, but I promise you can put it back together. You're going to grow more by not settling.
Yep. And the older you get and the more you learn, obviously, like, the more your horizons start to expand. And with your horizons expanding, you'll meet other people around the same area, or, you know, dynamic, whatever, or metrics, I should say, that you'll definitely be able to work with. So
absolutely.
But man, like, whew, girl, that was a good one. I enjoyed that.
Thanks.
You got some final remarks for us?
Trust your gut. Please trust your gut. Whether it be a kink relationship, a vanilla relationship, trust your gut. The world can be a scary place, especially when you start throwing in some of these not always safe kinks, such as impact or breath play or even bondage. There's a lot of them out there that can lead to injury or even death. And if you have even one inkling off feeling about somebody, please trust your gut. Please don't continue with that. Please be safe.
Man, yeah, no, I couldn't say any better. Like, make sure, you know, you look out for yourself, because I mean, dynamics are with two people, but like I said, sometimes it's you on the journey. So you have to kind of you have to prepare yourself before you can go into something and expect it to be okay. So you know, obviously you don't go jumping out of a plane without a parachute. Essentially the same premise here. So Same parachute, different plane.
You just repackaged that sucker up.
Exactly. So yeah, people, please like stay safe out there. Take it one day at a time. Don't try and overdo, because you'll be surprised. Life has a funny way of slowing you down, but just even on the flip side, life has a way of speeding you up.
Yep, it'll catapult you into better things.
Mhm.
I know this episode was kind of heavy on negativity, but kink is such a fun journey. You're gonna have such a fun time, but we definitely want to prepare you for some of the bad out there, because it's not all good. Unfortunately, there are bad people out there, so we just want to show you some of these signs to look out for, so you can enjoy a better
experience.
That's what I was looking for. Thanks. A better experience and have a better trip.
So, man, this is a good one. I would like to say this is probably one of our better solo.
Yeah.
The solo ones. We had Consent as a good one, but I'm gonna go and label this one as a good one. So that actually makes me excited to see the real Dom.
The real Doms. I'm really excited about that one.
It's like we said, we've seen enough, in our, once again, we haven't seen everything, but we've seen enough to where like, okay, at least watch out for this. And like I said, hopefully the show will get big enough to where we can actually have people call it and people just kind of like give their own 2 cents,
Yeah.
Be like, oh yeah, I seen this last week. I was like, I be a girl.
In that exact tone, please.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be some country, dude. I'm not even gonna trip. But man, well, I mean, we kind of already give last words. Any plugs, shameless plugs?
Definitely shameless plugs. We are on Twitter at DarkSideAdventures. We are on YouTube and Reddit and SoundCloud at DarkSideAdventures. And what is it? Podbean?
Yeah,
Podbean.
Our DarkSideAdventures.podbean.com.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So we are super excited to be on there, and you should come find us.
Yes,
give us some
please.
likes, some follows, some reviews. I think you can review on there.
Yeah.
Feel free. What is your line? Email us at ourdarksideadventures@gmail.com if you have any comments, if you have any stories to add, or as Edwin says, hell, if you want to be on an episode, reach out to us. We will see you next week. This has been Coco.
I am Edwin.
This was Dark Side Adventures episode 9.
We'll see you guys next week. I guess a couple days, actually. Thursday.
Adios.
Bye.